Hi folks, I think we are about set to get started. So thank you very much for coming along to this session. We are the last thing keeping you from drinks, so I'm sorry for that. We'll try and make sure it's a good one. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. People are coming in, that's not a problem at all. So hi, I'm Suk Pabial and I'm the chair for this afternoon's panel session on learner engagement. We've got some really knowledgeable people in our panel to help us talk through this. We've got Mitya Kulchar to my left, who's Global Retail Training and Development Lead for MOL Group. We have Adam Hodgkinson, who has the longest job title in the world. He is Global Head of People Development, Talent Management and Communication, Wellbeing and Culture.
Today.
Yeah, today.
At this moment.
With HRA Pharma. And we have Suzanne Rosenberg, who's Head of L&D with Elysium Healthcare. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here this afternoon. So the way we're going to run this panel is we're going to hear from each of our panelists just about who they are, what's their particular interest with learner engagement, really help you to have some context around, well, what is it that they're coming from, what does it get you thinking about, and what do you want to ask questions on. I've got a couple of questions that'll help us just get kicked off, and then I'm going to run around with a mic afterwards, open it up to the audience. It's a proper panel session, so there is no formal presentation as such. It is really all about the questions you have, the curiosity you have. Come on in, folks, come on. It's all good. We haven't formally started just yet, so you're all right. And yeah, we'll kind of just roll with it and see how it goes. Sound good? All right, good. Cool. Right, so I'm just going to hand over to Mitya first of all, please.
Thank you. Great to be here and see people's legs, finally, not only the faces on the screens after 2 years. So my first attendance on the LT was 3 years ago in 2019. And I remember back then that I came to learn and to get inspired for our journey that was ahead of us. And it's interesting to see, and it's actually a pleasure to sit on this side of the room today and share our experience, what we have accomplished in these 3 years when we set a strategy of how we should digitalize our training approach. So our story somehow begins in 4 years ago. But maybe first about the company. I'm coming from MOL Group. This is an integrated oil and gas company from Hungary, Budapest. Or more specifically, I'm coming from the retail department responsible for the gas stations. I'm leading the global retail and training development team, representing or being the voice of the frontline of the deskless workforce. We have 15,000 of employees working on our stations, dispersed in 9 countries across the CEE on almost 2,000 locations. So 4 years ago, we somehow asked ourselves how we can support the business and the operation and the employees more effectively, and how we can also make our training more accessible to them, especially considering the fact that our approach back then was face-to-face. And if you imagine 15,000 employees dispersed on 2,000 locations and to move them to the conference rooms to held trainings on the product, on the new products or different other activities, it's quite a nightmare from a logistical point of view. So besides that, we also wanted to solve the problem, which was how to make our training scalable, how to actually cover more training with reinforcement, how to onboard new hires more effectively, how to get a direct communication channel to them, and establish a knowledge library. After we have set the strategy and implemented the mobile microlearning platform, today what we are seeing after 2.5 years that our learners, employees, are still very much engaged. So we have 96% of participation level out of 15,000 employees. They're accessing the platform actually every day when at work, which is around 22 times per month. And we are able to actually retain them on the platform for 5.5 minutes per day. Because, as mentioned before, we have a microlearning approach, so they have these bite-sized sessions. check any news, and off they go to the front line and serve our customers. So this is in a nutshell.
Amazing, thank you. I'm sure there's going to be some questions on how you achieve the 96% participation rate, because that's fantastic. So thank you very much. Adam.
Thank you. So Adam, I won't do my job title because I've been told I only have 5 minutes to explain myself. So yeah, a little bit first about the company and then the learning culture in the company. My company is called HRA Pharma, or the company I work for is called HRA Pharma. We're a consumer healthcare business as a primary. We do also have a little bit on the side which is rare diseases. We're quite unique in a couple of ways, and that is that most pharma companies either have one product or they have many products. And the famous companies that you would know is a Johnson & Johnson, a GSK, etc. We have really 3 product lines, but then we have different versions of the product within them. One is Compeed, which is the blister plaster for feet, but also you can now use it for cold sores, etc. One is the morning after pill, called Aloe 1. And another is called Mederma, which is a scar treatment cream, which is very prominent in the US. At first you think, and I did when I joined, very, very diverse products. What do they have in common? Well, what they have in common is that in each of their product ranges, they're the #1 leading category brand. So we have the #1 in each area. The company, in terms of headcount, is incredibly small. We have 250 employees because everything is outsourced. We have an outsourcing model that works very well. It means that we're incredibly agile to the way that we work. We're incredibly fast because we can get up to the line, up to the CEO incredibly fast. And it means we're incredibly marketable because we were, until Monday, we were a privately owned company by 2 companies, Astor and Goldman Sachs. But on Monday, the company got sold to another CHC called Perrigo for $2.1 billion, which is an absolutely news-breaking announcement in the CHC world. Why did I join them? It's actually, I've only ever worked for 3 companies, HRA being one. The other 2 were Santander and the BBC, much bigger companies with many more people. So why did I go from that to HRA Pharma? Well, one, it was to do with the challenge, because 4 years ago when I joined, we had nothing. So the reason why my job title looks the way it does is because I came in to do head of talent, which again says a lot, that 250 people, a company wanted to bring in a talent manager and not a learning manager. But as I started to understand what the company needed, it became very apparent that we didn't have anything. We didn't have learning, we didn't have an LMS, we didn't have a system, we didn't have an approach to any of this, same for talent, etc., etc., etc. So the excitement for me was, in my previous companies, I'd had roles where I looked after leadership or performance management or, different elements because of the scale and size of the company. But here I was able to use and attack it as a blueprint that brings all of this together. So talent doesn't work outside of learning, it works together. The way we communicate links to learning, everything ties together. So that was a massive draw for me. And the other draw was the CEO. I have never ever worked, and I never think I will work with another CEO who is so invested in people, it's insane. He asks so much, he drives us hard, but he really, really cares about his people, and that's shown by the investment that they've given. So yeah, the journey's been intense. It's been fast, but incredibly enjoyable.
Amazing, thank you, and congratulations to the company on the acquisition.
I don't see any of the profits, unfortunately. Quite disappointing, but there we go.
Thank you for that. And Suzanne, please.
Yeah, my name is Suzanne Rosenberg, and I'm head of learning and development for a company called Elysium Healthcare. So Elysium was born in 2017, and we started with 20 services and 1,000 staff. So we deal with mental health, some very high-end mental health, neuro, learning disability, and CAMS, which is mainly around children's eating disorders. We are now a company of 6,000 employees, and we have got over 80 different services across the country. So in that 4-year period, we probably bought about 7 different companies, which is a huge challenge from a learning point of view to start with, because you've got different cultures coming into a company, and how do we bring them on board with what we want to do as well. I've been with Elysium now 4 years next month, and I still remember my first day, someone showed me the learning management system, and I just went, oh no, what is this? And basically it was a system that just recorded people's statutory mandatory training. So we are legislated by the Care Quality Commission, so staff have to do a certain amount of learning, and literally that is what it was. And that to me was not a learning management system. So I had a vision, which I looked to build over the next 2 years, which was to make our learning management system a one-stop shop for learning, where it was the only place that people could go in the organisation consistently where they could get all of their learning. They could find out what learning was available for them, what learning they could apply for, they could do some bite-sized learning. So that is what I spent the next 2 years building. And last year we were runners-up for an international award for our learning management system. We were beaten by the Italian equivalent of the NHS. So I feel really proud we're a little company compared to them. So it's been a really big challenge, but I'm a great believer in 2 things, which is one, people own what they create. And the second thing is, and I've really instilled this in my team, is the customer is at the centre of everything we do. So that learning management system does not belong to my team. That learning management system belongs to every single member of staff in the organisation. So when I look to rebuild the system, we build it with encompassing all the ideas and thoughts of staff. We ran loads of focus groups to get people's feedback on what do you want from a learning management system? What do you want to see how your career can grow within Elysium? You know, how do you want that learning to be? So we spent a lot of time doing that. And I think that's why we've had such massive engagement now in our learning management system, because people own what they create, and that's the philosophy that we've gone down. So that's just a little bit of background to that. The other thing we do is we do lots of marketing, because I think as a learning development function, that is what we are. We're a service, so we need to be marketing. So we run things like, it's called Mail My Elysium Learning. We run things like Mail Learning workshops. We run masterclasses for managers. We are constantly marketing our offer. And we're constantly getting feedback from staff as well about, is this what you want? Do we need to make changes? All the time. So that's just a little bit about us.
Fantastic, thank you so much. So interesting to hear just the spread of, obviously, diversity of industry and sector that we have here. Also the different sizes of the organizations, you know, from several thousand to only a couple of hundred, from being 1,000 growing up to 6,000. Like, huge challenges there for learner engagement and what we can do in that space. So I'm going to kick off with the first question, if that's okay, which is, what do you think are some key principles that apply to learning engagement regardless of the size of organization? So let's come to Adam first, if that's okay.
I think, for me, the key principle is that predominantly people don't want to do it. They don't want to do learning because they don't necessarily get paid to do learning, they get paid to do their job. And therefore, there's always pressure by management and by others to say, I know that's important, I know you've got to do that, but just do this first. So you've got to make it, in my opinion, you've got to make it readily accessible, although we shouldn't force people to do things outside of work time, not at all, but we should make it accessible for when they want it. And we should give it to people in different formats dependent on what they prefer, because if you are forcing someone to do so, it's like food, you know, you eat the food you enjoy. So you've got to have options of the same thing. It's not right to just have a video content on improving communication, you need video content. You need face-to-face. It's not old-fashioned. It's just different. You need the written word for the individuals that like to read. You need to make it appeal to them, and you need the timings of it to change too. Some people want to invest a day every now and again. Other people need 5 minutes. You know, as you said, you know, something really punchy that they can consume regularly. And I think it's about that flexibility.
Nice. Okay, good. So flexibility and accessibility of content.
Yeah.
Being some nice key principles to think of there.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. Mitya, what do you think?
I would go a bit maybe step before that. In our case, I think what was crucial to have engaged learners today was that we first invested into the service design research to understand what the hell are the problems which we have with employees in terms of what are their pain points at work, what the business wants, trying to put this into one holistic overview. And then this was actually the starting point, how we started to build the things, and not even going into the learning tech and how learning tech can help us, because I think we realized early on that learning technology is just an enabler and not really the solution to the problem. And then how to make the content which will be relevant for them to access. So I would add this to Adam's point, because today I think that the content is the one which is the main engaging element that is pulling the learners on the platform every day, on top of the platform, what the platform can do, like the gamification elements, which we're also using for the front line. But interestingly, what we have learned when we started to implement on all of our 9 markets was it was not planned. It was rather a legal problem that on some markets we were not able to roll out the platform with possibility to reward them for being engaged on the platform. Whereas on the other markets we had this option, and we were firmly believing that because we will reward them if they will go to the platform, they will be engaged. So in those markets where we had these early legal problems for some general terms and conditions, it was not deployed, but the engagement was the same. Actually, it was maybe 1 percentage point difference. So I think the basic things of the gamification was one of the things which is pulling our learners, but the other one is the content, which is helping them solve the problems which they have at work.
Nice. I really like that, because you took the approach first to really understand what's the problems facing the workers on a day-to-day basis, and not just jumping to, well, which learning tech can we just bring in and pray it's going to be the right solution.
Yeah, exactly.
In some way. Great, okay, thank you. One more question from me, and then we're going to come out to our audience. So feel free to really think about what questions you want to ask, and like I said, I'm going to run around with the mic. Suzanne, we'll come to you next, if that's okay. The question is, if you've never done learning engagement before, where do you start?
Okay. I think for me, the place that we started was at the top, because the most important thing is to get your senior management team on board. So we started with the CEO, and we chatted to her about what learning meant for her, what type of learning culture she wanted in the organisation. And then, I hate talking about going down, but that's exactly what we did. We then talked to the operations directors and then said, okay, what is your vision for you want from learning? And then we literally went down all different groups of people, because that way we had ambassadors across the organisation. And then we used those ambassadors that any time that we designed something and we wanted people to look at it, we had those ambassadors out there that could then give us the feedback. I think, don't sit in your office and think that you can just design any learning type of engagement and expect the business to accept it, because that's not going to work. You need to get the top team right from the very top bought in first of all, and then look to see how you can get the rest of the organisation. So I said we were mental health, CAMS, neuro and learning disability. So I had representatives from each of those groups that I constantly spoke to and said, this is what we're thinking of doing. Is this going to work for you, your part of the business? They would give me the feedback, but then they would go out and consult with some of their services as well, and then the feedback would come back in. I would look at that, and then that's the process that we looked at.
Nice, thank you so much. Adam, what's your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I fully agree with Suzanne. I think that's exactly the right way to look at it. So maybe if I answer it maybe slightly differently, I agree with everything you said, but looking at it from a different lens. When we started, I had to create a strategy that was presented to the board of individuals. And I remember I have a very particular approach to the way that I do a strategy. I'm not saying it's the best way, but it's a way that's worked for me. But there was a particular slide, and I remember as soon as that slide came up in my presentation, I saw the CEO smile, and I saw other people in the board kind of go, that's smart. And it was simply know who your competitors are. So the way that I did it was I had our logo of HRA Pharma, and I think visually it helps because you've got the impact. So we had our logo, and I put around that all of our competitors. So I put GSK, Pfizer, etc. All of those around it, and then I explained that they aren't the competitors. And I changed the images, with a click of a button, they disappear, and the actual competitors appeared. The actual competitors being Facebook, being LinkedIn, being Instagram, being Candy Crush, right? All of these things, right? Because people go there whenever they want. That's what they choose to do. So if people are choosing to play something as ridiculous as, sorry if anybody plays Candy Crush, but if somebody chooses to go and play Candy Crush rather than develop themselves on a piece of content, you've got to ask yourself the question, is my content crap, basically? So know that they're your competitors, and then look at a Candy Crush, look at what Facebook does and the way that it attracts people, and think, okay, well, how can I put that into my learning so that people choose to go there instead of there? So know your competitors, I think, is really, really important.
Nice. Thank you both so much for that. And thank you for answering the questions so far. Right, time to come down. Who has a question? Just shout out or just point out to me and come on over. Here we go. Thank you.
Hi. What do you think is the best balance of kind of push and pull for getting people to come to your learning platform? So, do you send out nudge emails, and you talked about marketing. How much is them coming to you and how much are you drawing them in?
Mitya, how do you take that?
Our approach in the beginning was definitely that we wanted to have the pull approach. And I think one of the best decisions back then was not to start with the compliance trainings because everybody hates that. So we started with the things which we got from the research. So what are those main things that they cannot do today, and it will be helpful if they would get trainings on that. So this was the first step. Even today, we are trying to really avoid the push approach. Even after 3 years, we are still not having compliance training on, but this year it will happen. We're just trying to find a way how to make it really engaging. The pull approach from our side is the things that we have done before that were done maybe through paper or through team meetings on a daily basis. This is now put on the platform, and it is required and also monitored by the managers of the teams if they have really completed these trainings. There is no kind of consequence if it's not done because we believe that the push will not help, definitely, and will rather have a negative impact on the whole engagement. So I'm not sure what to tell you about the compliance. We can catch up next year to see how that went. But I think I have also learned through this conference a few things, how to deal with that. So best of luck for us.
Thank you, Mitya. Suzanne, what do you think to that as well?
Yeah, I mean, we have a slightly different situation because compliance is huge in our organisation because we are governed by the Care Quality Commission. So we have to pull people to do their compliance. We don't have a choice. So the way that we've designed the learning management system is when they come in to do their compliance, they can actually see all the other learning that's available for them. So down the one side is the compliance that they need to do, but they then can click on one button that says My Development, and then all the other development is there for them. So in a way, we use that as marketing to say, okay, you've come in to do this, but actually look at all this other stuff that's available for you as well, because we haven't got a choice, that we have to pull them in to be able to do that. But we do so much marketing as well. I mean, I've got 4 regional training managers who look after a certain number of services. So they are constantly in touch with the services, sending out flyers, doing focus groups, talking to people about what's available. But yeah, we have no choice when it comes to compliance.
Great, thank you so much. Next question, please. Okay.
Hi. Any tips for engaging the right learners, the ones that are going to bring the best return of investment or impact of the business? Because as the discussion was going in the previous panel, engagement on its own, it's a cost for the company. So what we're really selling to higher management is more the impact to the business. Are you guys using learning personas or any targeting methods?
Right, thank you. Who wants to try and tackle that?
Sorry, I didn't pick up all of that question.
No, I didn't either.
Apologise.
Me either.
So,
Yeah, sorry. Do you have any tips on how to target the groups in the company that are going to bring the highest impact for the business?
It doesn't always work in this way, and it's maybe not targeting at first, but it's kind of proving a concept, and that would be that you should try and treat everybody, it's something that I say often, you should try and treat everybody fairly, but not equally, because if you treat everybody equally, then you're not being fair. So if you've got individuals that are engaging with content, engaging with learning, or developing, and when it comes to opportunities for those individuals, then those should be the individuals that you target, you focus on. So it wouldn't work, to answer your question specifically, I suppose it wouldn't work right away, because you might not be focusing on the right audience. But if you stay true to your morals, and you stay true to the belief that, you know, if people engage with the content that you provide to them, they will have opportunities in the future. It helps to bring people, I've found, it helps to bring people into your system and into the development that you offer people.
That was a good answer. Thank you very much. Is that okay? Cool. Who's got next question, please?
Hello. I was just interested to find out your experiences in engaging unconnected learners.
I'm happy to answer that. So what we do every year is we do an analysis of all of our services, and we look at all of our programs, and we look at how many people have actually connected to some of those programs. So that helps us identify which services and which groups of people have not connected to the learning. And then what we would then do is we would target those services. We would go in and we would talk to the staff about the offer that we've got. We would find out why people are not connecting. Is it that they don't know what's available to them? You know, because a lot of our healthcare workers don't have time to always look at emails. So the fact that we can actually go in and we can talk to people, or we've done Zoom sessions as well for people to say, you know, do you actually know what's on offer for us? And we've actually found that makes a huge difference as well. But the thing is about doing analysis, you know, analyse who is engaging, identify who's not, and then that's the one to target.
Nice, thank you. Mitch, what's yours? Yeah.
I can also add that we have quite a good reporting to actually analyze the courses with which the users are not engaged. We can also identify actually if we have some issues with the content from perspective that the content doesn't really matter enough. How we can do that is, since we also have primarily adopting the question-based learning, we can easily see which topics have low scores, and this can then also give us the possibility to explore whether the content is bad, so it was not designed properly, or it's really that hard for the people that they don't understand the context. So this is giving us the inputs where we can improve the things and then measure the things, what will happen. And the other things which we started to apply around 6 months ago is actually to learn from the market, from Facebook, from our marketing team actually inside of the company, how they're engaging the customers. This is how we are now, many times, instead of designing the courses, we are doing a communication campaign. We use TikTok as an example. So our main product on our stations is a hot dog. So let's say we had a campaign called TikTok, and people were asked to share their stories, how they are selling the hot dogs, or just to push through again this new product available on our stations and to get the buy-in from them. So we were not even required to do a big course on this stuff, but just use these things from today.
Nice, thank you very much. Also, I think what's helpful there is you're helping us also to understand that you don't have to necessarily be a data analyst to be able to look for the information. It's quite readily accessible in the technology itself, through the reporting mechanisms that are already there. Thank you. Next question, please.
Hi, thank you so much. So one of the points which you mentioned was 96 participation. So the question was, is participation percentage a key driver to estimate the learner engagement? And what other indicators can help you gauge or identify engagement is taking place within the business? And the second question, a little short one, what was the reward which you gave them?
Maybe then the second one is the easy one. We have like merchandising products, fuel vouchers in value of 50 euros, for instance. These are the rewards. And they can exchange the points which they are collecting with their learning for this kind of rewards. They can bid, which is again a gamification element, because if you have, let's say, a bidding, then if somebody is overbidding you, you get a notification. You are going back to the platform. We again engage you, we hook you, and they are doing the learning. And regarding the engagement, for us, this is telling us if they are engaged or not, because as mentioned before, we are supporting the pool approach. And we are constantly monitoring on a daily basis what is happening with the participation and the frequency, how they are logging in. So we can identify this early on if we see that in particular some team is dropping. We simply call them. We engage area manager who is responsible for that area, and we identify what the problem could be. It could be that we are retail, we have high fluctuation, that's the fact in our industry. It could be just that the team was almost gone, and this could be the impact on the situation. On the other hand, how we are also looking at the participation level and the engagement is, last year we have implemented the onboarding program. So we are also measuring how the new hires are engaged with the program and how they are progressing through the path or the journey which they need to complete. And this is a great, again, a great indicator to see if they are missing out the trainings every day. It was actually a good learning in the beginning, what we had to change in order to move up the participation level. So everything in our case is driven by data, which is monitored daily, and we can react immediately.
Thank you. Come over here.
Hello. Sorry, hello. One of the questions was around push versus pull, and I think, Mitchell, you were talking about, and please tell me if I've got it wrong what you were saying, but you're only really using your platform for the pull stuff, which I think you said at the start is a mobile micro platform. So I'm assuming you're using something for the push stuff. So is that a more sort of formal LMS? Or?
No, this microlearning platform which we are using is our LMS, so nothing on top of that. And that's mainly it. Or can you please repeat the question?
Sorry, yeah, so it was my impression when you were talking was that you're getting engagement because people are going there for the pull stuff. And I was under the impression that you said the push stuff, so like say the compliance training, the mandatory stuff, you weren't using it for. If it is your main LMS, I'm assuming people are still going there for that then. Okay, it was all right. I was going to ask a question around if you were running two systems, what are the sort of challenges with that, but you're obviously not, so.
Yeah, so
All right, that's okay. No, it's fine. We'll just move on.
How important is it to get the right technology? Because I know Suzanne particularly said that she came in and looked at the LMS that she was presented with and went, this is not good. Is it more important that you get the right technology that enables these things, or is it the right team and the right approach to selling the learning to the learners?
Can I pick that up? When I came and looked at the LMS and went, oh my gosh, the problem was it was actually a really good LMS. But what had happened was, when it first came in, nobody looked at its capability. So all they saw was, we needed somewhere to put our Statman training, let's put that on there. But actually, it's an amazing system. But what I would say is, don't let the system drive what you want to do. The most important thing is, you need to decide what you want, then see that the LMS can do it. I mean, I work with a company called Chambray Solutions who are brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And Richard knows that I never accept no. So whenever I say to him, I want to do X, Y, and Z, he knows now to say, I'll just go away and just check and see whether we can do that and not say no. But I would say, you know, the system was good, the organisation just wasn't tapping into its capability, but don't let the system drive what it is that you want to do.
Nice. Adam?
Yeah, I think the technology is really, really important, because before people, well, it's your shop window. So if you need your shop window to look sexy, in my opinion. So it's got to look good, and then the content that sits inside has equally got to look good. So I mentioned at the beginning that when I joined there wasn't anything, so which was great because I didn't have to unpick something that was potentially not so great. But I was also given the freedom to really think about what we wanted and effectively go out and purchase something. And we didn't. We built something. So we went with a company that created an organic solution. So I was able, I mean, you have to have somebody then who has the knowledge of what is required, which can sometimes be a challenge if a team is not from a tech background, of course. But yeah, we were able to go in and create a system that was branded what we wanted it to be, named what we wanted it to be, and then to do what we wanted it to do. And for me, the reason why that was so important is because this desire to bring the talent, the performance management, the learning all together under one brand. So the brand, which I don't mind sharing with you, which I'm hugely proud of, is it's called iDevelop. So it, of course, is a bit of a play on the iPhone because that's fashionable, but it's also important because the culture of the company prior to me getting there, of course, training still happened, but there was no strategy, was please can I have coaching, yes or no, and that was it. and that was the format in which training was consumed. And now what we've said is, if it's on you to develop, we'll put it there, you go away and you develop yourself. We're there to support you, but you need to own this. So our overall brand is called I Develop, and then under that brand I have I Join, which is our new joiner approach, I Learn, which is our content, which covers all soft skills, I Lead, which is our leadership approach, I Perform, which is our performance management tool that's built into the same system. And then the final one, I really had to push this one to get this to fit in, but is the talent one. So we call that Identify, which is the identification of the talent. So there are brands that sit under the global brand of I Develop.
Nice, thank you so much. Yep.
Thank you. I would like to know how you make the difference in between the subjects that you can provide in a training and the subject that you can provide in a communication campaign.
Ooh,
please.
That's a great question. Well, what is learning? If you read something, are you still learning from a communication? Sometimes the answer is yes, and we can make something overly complex by trying to build training when actually a strong communication is enough. I suppose what I meant by connecting the two is, if, for example, a perfect example of what's just happened to us, so we're being integrated, which means that there has been a huge amount of communications that we've had to write and publish internally around the integration of our new company and what it means, and the fact that our logo is changing to now include the Perigo, etc., etc. So that's the communication. But within that communication at the bottom, it's a great opportunity to put a direct link into a piece of learning around change or something like that. So the communication is what the communication needs to be, but we also look if there are topics or genres that we can support in from our learning library, and then we make sure that that is part of the communication. So you're informed, and then you can learn as well if you need to.
Can I also take this one? So essentially, in our case, we are trying to change people's behaviors, right? So to move them from A to B. So how we are deciding for the communication campaigns especially is when we need to move people immediately, this is where we are investing in the communication campaigns as well, because we need to get them act in, let's say, the next 2 weeks, because we have these marketing activities that needs to be pushed on our customers from all of the channels, from the billboards to the employees on the station. The courses which we design are supporting more or less the trainings that people will need to know eventually, and that which we are also reinforcing over the time, so that the knowledge retains. But when we need to act quickly, then this is the communication campaign when it takes place.
Nice, guys. Thank you so much. Who's next? Next question, please. Come to you in a minute.
Hi, it's more for Suzanne, really, talking about your, heavy marketing campaigns. We were just discussing outside about our mail campaign, and we were asked by the firm to reduce that because of everything else around the firm. So what becomes too much, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where we've got to be really careful, because we don't want to be postered out. We don't want to look at the notice boards and find that everything is like absolutely jam-packed. We tend to do themes, if I'm honest. So, for example, if we know that we've got our leadership program coming up in the next couple of months, then that's the area that we'll concentrate on, and that will be our whole focus, is getting people on the leadership program. We've then got a skills development program that we run twice a year. So again, that will be our focus. So we don't blitz all the time. We do have a monthly newsletter that goes out. So that monthly newsletter is done on Page Tiger. So that is a way for us to put an overview of a lot of things. But then throughout the year, we've got themes. And that's what we will do. We'll just concentrate on those themes, because if not, it just becomes far too much. We also, it's sometimes, so for example, we developed a healthcare worker career pathway. And what we were able to do from our HR system is pull out everyone under that job family. And then what we did was we did a double-sided, just a small postcard, and we actually sent that to people's home addresses. So again, we've just launched a catering pathway as well. So again, we'll be able to pick out people's names that are in the catering, and then we can just send that to home. So it's just another way to do it as well.
Thank you so much.
I was actually going to ask about marketing as well, and around some of the different tools that you use. So Suzanne, it's really interesting you said about the monthly newsletter and the postcard idea. It sounds awesome. So yeah, to Adam and Mitchell as well, what sort of things do you do?
Do you want to go first? Or? I think I mentioned earlier about the mixture of media. And I think that's what you need to do. If you send out the same time, I'm not saying that one is better than another. I don't want to put that impression out there. But I think if you put the same type of thing out, eventually or possibly people start to go, oh, it's that communication about learning again, and that's when you start to lose the engagement. So if sometimes it's an email, if other times it's a video, if other times it's quite cryptic because it's just a QR code with nothing there and people go, oh, and then all of a sudden they're already into your learning, for example, it just helps with different bits of engagement. The other thing that we do, which at first I think I worried that I was being old-fashioned, but I'm not at all, because it works, is that we've got this fantastic system with all of our content on, which obviously you should be able to go to the search bar and search for communication or whatever topic you're looking for, or mandatory training or whatever, and you should be able to find it there. But not everybody learns and registers things in that way. So what we found really powerful is we do a yearly catalogue, and the catalogue is, this is what we're doing this year, and it has a little opening piece from the CEO, or it doesn't matter, from whoever, and then there's normally a piece from me, and then there is a catalogue just on paper, where but well done, so it looks professional, but it takes you through all of those things, so that people then have that catalogue, that if they think to themselves, oh, I wonder if there's some training on X, you can look at it on paper. So it's the mix of media, which I think is the most important.
What I would add to what Adam said is we have obviously done many mistakes on this journey. One of which was that once we were able to prove to the business that what we are doing is effective, and that they started to see us rather as a cost center, as a profit center, suddenly we got so many requests what we should put on the platform, that we came to the stage that we saw that the learners are overwhelmed and not really satisfied with what is happening. So how we overcome this is that we established a governance model, so everything needs to go through us, and we are always asking many scary questions to the stakeholders and the SMEs who are trying to put the stuff on the platform, and simply identifying what is training, what is the communication which needs to go there, and what is not, and maybe it's rather a process thing which needs to be solved. We also have a training calendar, so we are filling the boxes. Once it's full, it really needs to be something very urgent, or if some very senior manager would raise the voice, then probably we would do something. But apart from that, this is our strategy, how we are managing it.
Nice, thank you.
Hello. We made the classic mistake of launching with compliance, boo, and now we're trying to rebrand. Do you think there's a balance to be found between fun and serious? So it being a serious learning tool, but also you mentioned things like the hot dog competition, TikTok. Do you think it's possible to inject that fun in as well? And if so, how?
Well, probably it depends also what capabilities your platform has and how to make it engaging again. Unfortunately, I don't have the experience that we would need to redo something from the scratch. What I would advise you is looking back, what we were using back then was from the service design research, we picked up the what's in it for me messages and how the platform will help them do their job better. So maybe I would say if you really go out there, talk to your learners, employees, uncover the pain points and then use them kind of against them with what's in it for me communication, then I think this is maybe one of the ways how you can win them back.
Suzanne, what do you think?
I totally agree, because that's exactly what I came into 4 years ago. And just going back to what I said and what I said at the beginning is, you need to get in touch with those customers. And that's, we keep telling them, I keep saying to my team, we're a service department, they are our customers. We need to go out and find out what it is they want. What do they want, what do they need, and how do they want that delivered? And that's how you'll pick up the fun and the way that they want it, and that's exactly what we did.
Great, thank you so much.
You can use other emotions. Yeah. Like if you take fun and then turn it into the emotion of maybe happiness, but you can also use the other emotions. So with mandatory training, I get it. It's really difficult, especially fun. But you can use the other. You can go for like a sense of sort of like fear, but not in a like a ooh, not that kind of fear. But if for us a great one is pharmacovigilance and the importance of pharmacovigilance. And we had this challenge. Well, how can we do it? How can we make people want to do it? And we put like it was a piece of learning that we created specifically for ourselves, and we put like really quite a heavy beat music behind it and made it feel like it was and there was a news reader, and it had impact. It had an impact that made people listen. It wasn't fun, but it still had an impact, and therefore people engaged with it.
Nice, thank you.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity for a question. It's not about mandatory training, so repeat easily. But I am interested in how you integrate learner-generated content in your learning systems. So one thing that I'm personally finding is that we have a lot of in-house expertise, and that content is more credible sometimes and gets more views than those that are created by a standard SME. So I'm quite interested in hearing from each of you how you are integrating that into your learning systems.
I think if I'm hearing that right, so we have got, I think I might have heard you, I'll just check. So we've got some amazing SMEs in our organisation. We're a healthcare company, but I've got some technical people in my team who know how to build content. So what we do then is we work with them. So for example, they will say we need a course, I don't know, on duty of candour, for example. They will come up with the roughly what the content is, but then I've got technical people who can make that a bit more fun and a bit more interactive. So that's how we tend to work together. Is that what you meant?
So on the other side, sorry about that. I usually shout at my kids, so I thought it would work here. But I'm thinking of content that is generated outside of your team. So I'm wondering if that is integrated into your systems,
yes.
And if you find there is a difference in engagement there.
Everything is in our system. You cannot go anywhere else in our organisation except to our system. So everything is in one place. And one of the things that I need to do going forward now is to analyse. So for example, we've got over 400 different course offers on our system at the moment. Some of them are e-learning, some of them are courses. What I now need to do is do an analysis of that. We're at that stage now of saying, okay, what are people looking at? What aren't people looking at? If they're not looking at it, is it because they don't know about it? Or is it because they might have clicked on it and thought, that's of no interest to me? So I think it's constantly doing that analysis, which we just haven't done yet because we've been so busy building this product.
Mitya, do you have any thoughts there?
In our case, we were just talking to the supplier of our platform. We also have courses that we see that people are not taking, let's say, as an extra training on top of that, what is actually anyhow assigned to them to go through the journey. And in this case, we have realized when we were starting to informing them about the possibilities, it was not well received because it was, again, additional communication on the platform. So now what we are trying to achieve is to make the platform more intuitive and that it will drive them simply or at least show the possibility that this exists. So this is where we are at this stage.
Thanks so much, folks. I think we're going to probably come to our last question, if that's okay, and then we'll just move to a wrap from there.
So we are just about to launch a learning management system, and we don't have a huge amount of opportunity to really promote internally. We're quite a traditional environment. So I just wondered how much proactive engagement you see, because I want to manage my own expectations on, you know, are we going to suddenly see this flurry of people coming and seeing all our great content? So outside of the kind of communication campaigns that you're doing, yeah, how much engagement are you seeing?
I can take this on. We had an enormous challenge to do that, considering that we have 2,000 locations and 15,000 people dispersed on these locations. But still, even though that we realized it will be a very heavy exercise, we did organize kickoff events when we were implementing it. This was, I think, a very important step so that the managers were engaged in these kickoffs because they were in the first round when we actually went to the frontline employees. So this was the crucial step. So I think invest a lot into this and to communicate what's in it for them and how this will help them do their job better. And the other one was the pre-communication campaigns. We were doing the teasers that something is coming, raising the awareness. We were following, let's say, the ADKAR change management model to build the awareness and not just jumping to the ability. So we used posters, physical posters in the retail shops to announce this. So don't underestimate it.
And the other thing I would say as well, don't try and do it all yourself, because that's impossible. You know, you need to find other key people in your organisation that can help support you. So for me, it was those ambassadors. It was absolutely crucial, because at the time I was only a team of like 6, I'm now 19, but it was only 6 people in the team. We couldn't do it all at once, but work with key people that can help you and support you. If not, it becomes just completely overwhelming.
I think I would say manage your expectations too, because I think, you know, like I said it earlier actually, I was talking downstairs in the learning technologies area, and I found myself saying that, you know, probably everybody here is from learning, or certainly like the HR field, and most of us enjoy technology or see the importance of technology in learning. That's not necessarily what your employees enjoy. And that's understandable. It's okay. So manage that expectation. But if you don't, if it goes well, excellent, fantastic. You know, jump over it. It's fantastic. But if not, it's not the end of the world. You've just then got to say, okay, how do I get that engagement? And yes, the system might have already launched, but you can then call it a soft launch, and spend a bit of time thinking about how you're going to market the really big bang in 3 months' time or something like that.
Yeah. And that's the thing I was going to say is a lot of companies will do a massive big launch and they go, great, job's done.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't work. For me, it's constant marketing.
All right, thank you. Well, I'm going to suggest that we bring it to a wrap there, folks, if that's okay. I can see there might be 1 or 2 others who do have some questions, but please do come up and find these guys, because they are here for a few minutes at least anyway. So thank you very much for your participation, your questions. They were awesome. Thank you to our panelists.